Welcome back, guys. It's time for a new adventure with Season 2 of American Gods. I'm your girl, Leontine, here to give you a breakdown of Episode 1, House on the Rock. If you've read American Gods by Neil Gaiman, you know that Starz has kept true to most of the novel. However, at the same time, they've created some awesome new storylines, and it's enough to keep us fans in the dark and keep us guessing. This is truly a revitalized storyline for our man Shadow Moon. Let's see what's going to happen. This season starts off with Technical Boy racing to Blackbriar Country Club with Mr. World in tow. If you remember from last season, at the season finale, our man Wednesday delivered a hard blow to Mr. World. Basically, Mr. World got his ass kicked.
Dude, you're a mess. He could have killed me. Show him.
Mr. World desperately needs to get into the secret lair underneath Blackbriar. And what do you know? A paperclip is the secret symbol needed for the security guard to come to the door.
Challenge. The Rocklammer.
Now, Mr. World gave the password way better than I ever could. This is the German word for paperclip. And any history nerd can tell you the significance of the word paperclip in German. It's a reference to Operation Paperclip during World War II. At this point, Technical Boy is pissed about catching that beatdown and suggests immediately that they retaliate. But Mr. World has to put that ass back in place.
The gutters will run black with Icarus spew, and the ossuary shall overflow with this dust.
This is by far my favorite line in the entire episode. Only Mr. World can make war sound so elegant, yet so creepy at the same time. On the road to Wisconsin, we find Wednesday, Mad Sweeney, Laura, and Shadow Moon sharing a very uncomfortable car ride to their next destination, the magical House on the Rock. And yes, you can visit this place in Wisconsin.
Place where people come to look, play, and wonder.
Back in the bunker at Blackbriar, Mr. World wants to use the eyes of Argus. One can assume he's referring to the Greek god, Argus, who was a 100-eyed giant. The security guard tries to talk Mr. World out of it, telling him he doesn't have the authority, but you know Mr. World put that ass in place. Finally, Mr. Wednesday and company arrive at House on the Rock, and who do we find? The best storyteller around, the fabulous Mr. Nancy.
Keen knows, Mr. Fancy Pants. But that ain't Irish sexy you're smelling. It's roadkill Rondo over here.
As they prepare to enter the House on the Rock, Mr. Wednesday tries to sell Laura on a deal to bring her back to life. She promptly tells him to go stuff it. I don't know, Laura. Maybe you should hear him out. I know he killed you and all, but you're kind of in a sticky situation. Wednesday asks the Jinn how many have shown up, how many gods, and he tells him about a dozen. Not really what he was expecting. But one who wasn't invited did show up. Yes, the lovely Belquist. Wednesday takes an extra coin for his new guest. Unfortunately, Mad Sweeney and Laura are not invited to the party, and old Mad Sweeney is pissed. I would be too. Came all this way for nothing.
I was old in the desert before they sacrificed the first horse to you. I will be hurt. Unless you're afraid.
The wit and wisdom of Queen Bilquis defeated King Solomon.
Bilquis gets her fortune. However, we don't know exactly what it says, but judging by her reaction, it definitely has something to do with Shadow. Next up, our hero gets his fortune. And it's odd to say the least. However, I think it's safe to assume this is some major foreshadowing. After Shadow and the gods are done, leave, Mad Sweeney convinces the Jinn to give Laura a coin. Unfortunately, when she gets her fortune, it's totally blank. Perhaps this has something to do with her being dead, and maybe there's no future in being dead? Finally, the God Squad rolls into the carousel room. Shadow is awestruck, as was I. It's absolutely gorgeous. He selects his mount, and things get weird in a hurry. Suddenly, this magic joyride explodes, and all parties are projected towards something. And then suddenly Shadow wakes up on a beach, and Belquist is waiting on him. Shadow's confused, and she explains that they are Wednesday's memories. And I must say, his memories are a beautiful place. Upon entering the Great Hall, Shadow sees a boatload of gods straight up chilling. Wednesday is in his Odin form and tries to convince the gods to side with him against the new gods. He recalls how people brought them in their minds to America, but now the people have forgotten about them, and the new gods want to straight up destroy that ass. My man Wednesday is all about them facts. Now Mama G, a war god like Odin, disagrees with him and doesn't see a war coming. Odin simply tells her she's not looking hard enough. Then our girl Belquist, she has her say.
I accept my wish. My way. Evolve. Or die.
And then my man Shadow, you know he's got something to say at this meeting, right?
Help him remind the people who you are. Regain the faith of your creator and just take the chance.
And just as quickly as the whole dream started, it all stops. And all parties show up in a diner next to the Motel of America. And Shadow, poor Shadow, doesn't know if this is real. Was it a dream? What just happened? He's confused. Then Belquist is walking around with what looks like a tracking device of some kind. I don't like this at all, girl. Don't do it. Just don't do it, B. Then she takes a sudden interest in Laura.
What are you? A Hungarian goddess of death.
I am from Eagle Point, Indiana. Laura. Laura Moon.
The same name as the bodyguard.
Yeah, he's my husband.
Laura's like, what the hell just happened? Mad Sweeney's digging the girl-on-girl action. And then unfortunately, B leaves. Don't think it's a good sign. We can see B leaving the diner, which presumably these are the eyes of Argus that they're looking through. Then Mr. World, he calls in a hit. You know what kind of hit. The mass shooting takes place, and Shadow Moon tries to save the day. Unfortunately, he ends up getting kidnapped. Woo! That was a lot of ground to cover. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown as much as I did. This season started off with a bang. Also, I can't forget my shameless plug. Please subscribe for more episodes, and please click that like button. Also, comments are appreciated. Until then, take care, guys.